Alright, you guys, welcome back to another update. So this is actually going to be a writing update because I have been working on Project Necromancer. If you guys have been catching my live streams, then you know that I've been working on that, and specifically in 2024, the titles, I'm telling you guys specifically what chapter I am working on, and that has been a process, because if you've been paying attention, you'll notice that I am still on chapter 5, and I looked at my stats for this project the other day and I'm like, I have been working on this book since like June. Like, what in the world? I should basically be done with this. And it's one of those things where I was like, you know what? Let me just come on here and talk about this and just like be honest about this whole process, right? Because one of the things that I tell you guys all the time that I do is coaching, right? I talk to other authors and let them know like, hey, this is the process. This is kind of what you're going to go through. This is what I've been through. This is what I've experienced. This is how you can go about your own publishing journey and kind of learn from the mistakes that I've made so that you don't have to make them, right? The whole gambit, just trying to be a friend and a confidant as everyone else, I guess, kind of goes on their journey, if that makes sense, right? But part of that is experiencing my own journey and being honest about it. So that being said, I have been working on Project Necromancer since June, and similar to Wrath of the Gods and Brandy's story, this is not a new idea. I have had this idea living in my head since circa 2016. I was very heavy on Tumblr, and there were a lot of prompts that kind of just sparked little ideas of creativity, and I have since deleted my Tumblr, so the short stories are no longer on that page anymore. But the ones that I really liked from those little prompts or whatever, I moved them into my notebook, and I was like, okay, I'm going to come back and I'm going to do something with this. And so Project Necromancer is very much one of those little nuggets. It's been completely reshaped and reworked, outside of the fact that it is about a Black woman who's a necromancer. Yeah, that's all I took at this point. But it's one of those things that's been with me for a very long time. And so when I made my goals, I was like, okay, this is how long it took me to write We Are the Origin. This is how long it took me to write We Are Dying Gods. I should be able to knock this out somewhere between like 3 months, right? So June, July, August, September. I was like, by September, I should be done with the book if I go ahead and start now, right? December at the latest, right? I in no way expected to be in January and on chapter 5. That just was not in the plan. It just wasn't. And so now I'm just kind of having to sit with myself and be like, okay, this is where I'm at. What is an actual reasonable goal for me to finish this book, and what can I hold myself accountable for? Because before, when NaNoWriMo was happening, I was like, okay, I'm going to try to have the book done by December because El Penelope is doing like a revision course, and I would really love to take part of that. I'm not going to be able to because it's in January and the book's not done. So that is what it is. But I was like, okay, it's January. When am I going to have this book done? So initially it was going to be February because that's what my friends in my author council talked about. And if you don't know what the author council is, I've already made a video about that, so feel free to check that out. But I am at a point where I'm just like, okay, sitting by myself, right? Not talking about what anyone else is doing, not looking at, ooh, I want to do this external thing, like internally. What do I know about this story? Am I ready to actually pour the amount of time and energy into it to finish? And the new goal that I have come up with is March 9th, right? That is my very hard deadline for this book. And the reason I settled on that is because in my writing goals videos, I told you guys, I have a lot of projects that I want to work on this year, and those things are time sensitive. Part of me is like, I don't have time to continue kind of hovering essentially over this book, but also it's to a point where I'm like, I can acknowledge that even though it wasn't on the timeline that I expected myself to be on, I did need that time on this story because so much about this book has changed as I have been working on it. So it went from, okay, it's going to be about a necromancer who wants to take over the world, to, okay, now there are two necromancers and they're separated by millennium and they're trying to take over the world, right? One of them has to take over. And then it became a thing of, and I will say this: if you ever work with me, whether that be an editor, whether that be a friend, whether that be coaching or whatever, one thing I'm always going to ask you is why. Because if you have listened to me talk about published books, if you have heard me talk about my writing, one of my biggest things with a story, any story, is the why. Why is this character doing this? What is the motivation? And it doesn't necessarily have to be something grand, because I write epic fantasy. So the motivations are usually, or the stakes rather, are usually very high. But the motivations are usually very intrinsic. Like, what is keeping this character on this path, right? When I stopped to ask myself that, I realized I did not know, like, why is this character trying to take over the world? Like, it's cute, it's fun. And when I was working on my little Tumblr prompt in the middle of the night, and I was just like, oh, this sounds fun, I didn't really need to dig any deeper than that, right? But now I do. And as I was digging deeper, I was like, I don't know why she's trying to take over the world. What is happening? And so over the course of asking myself that question, this big question, like, what is the purpose of the book? Why? Why? Right? I kind of realized that I didn't know, right? So that led me down a rabbit hole of, okay, let me put these things in order. And then that led me down a rabbit hole of, okay, what motivations can I give her, right? And that led me down a rabbit hole of figuring out, okay, who is this character? Like, it kind of just hit me at every step of the journey that I had gotten really comfortable with writing Brandy, because there's so many aspects of Brandy that I am familiar with, right? You know, Brandy has a stable significant other. So I was like, that is cool. I very much have the internal, like, let's burn it down mentality. So that also worked for me. And there are dynamics that Brandy experiences that I'm just like, okay, that makes sense to me, right? But Nessa is a completely different character. She is nothing like Brandy, and a lot of her personality is extremely different from my outward personality, if that makes sense. Or rather, her personality is more so the personification of my outward personality, because in real life I am very introverted and I am really not as nice as I try to portray it online. Like, just being real, it's a facade, don't trust it, y'all. But that being what it is, Nessa really is that person. And so I'm like, ooh, how do I write this? And not to say that she's nice, because y'all know I don't write nice people. I don't write nice girls, right? I write books about Black girls who aren't all that nice. And that is still true. But the way she navigates her world is very, very different from the way Brandy navigates hers, from the way that other characters that I have in the backlog navigate theirs, from the way that I navigate mine. She's very outgoing, extroverted, friendly, and that is the opposite of what I am. So it has been a journey, and digging deeper into it, I realized that I needed the time to kind of build out this world in a way that I knew, because as I said, as I was writing it, the world started shifting, it started changing, it started being a completely different story as I was writing it. And that's a good thing, right? Especially because as a writer, it's just like, okay, the deeper I got into it, the bigger the world got, which means hopefully that translates to my readers. Like, the world is big, it's going to be fun, hopefully, and something to, like, sink your teeth in, really. And that's good. But also while I was writing it, I was like, oh, this is going to set me back, because now I have to figure this out. I have to figure out these gods. I have to figure out this creation lore. I have to figure out this map. I have to figure out the politics. I have to figure out how these ancient houses of magic fit into it. I have to come up with a magic system. I have to come up with, okay, what does the average person know? What do the ancient houses know? And then what is lost magic? And then I decided to be like, oh, there's going to be a holy war, right? And it's not going to be the first one. So I was like, okay, what was the first one about, right? What is the timeline for this world? And it just became so in depth, and I had fun with it. But also, if I'm creating things like that, I'm not actively writing, because I'm the type of person, for better or for worse, I am not the type of person that can write into the dark and be like, oh, I will just make this up later. Unless it's just like a word, like I'm just like, oh, create a fantasy word for this, right? That's one thing. But if I'm like, oh, we have an entire fantasy calendar system, and like, I need to know how that system works before I start just adding random things into the book. And knowing that has slowed me down. So all of that to say that in this time, that I have not been writing and finishing the book as I thought I would. I have created a story Bible, and I think I've talked about this a little bit on various platforms. It might be on here, I'm not sure. I talk a lot, you guys. But I have spent a lot of time building out my story Bible and building out a proper one, mostly because I realized that this world is very big, and unlike Brandy's world, it is not living in my mind, rather, for 10 years before I'm writing it down. So Brandy's world is very much an integral part of like me, right? I've lived with it for long enough that I'm like, okay, yeah, I know this about the world. Nessa's world is very new. It's new and it's changing, and I'm like, I gotta write this down. And also just the characters, because like I said, Nessa is very different from me, and the characters in her world interact with her differently because her love interest is like, Nessa and her love interest are very different from Jack and Brandy, because Jack and Brandy are established from day one. They're already together, been together, gonna stay together. They're solid, right? Nessa and her love interest, yeah, they ain't got that kind of relationship. So also kind of having to tap back into, okay, how do I write characters that need to get together on page, right? And then I decided, let's make this even more challenging, because whether I like it or not, apparently I'm the type of person that likes to write dual perspectives. Go figure, learn something new about yourself every day, right? So there are dual perspectives in this book, and so that is a completely separate dynamic, different personality, different love interests, everything. So just trying to put all of that together, and on one hand being really, I don't say proud of myself, but you know what, this is 2024. This is the year of giving my ego room to breathe, right? So honesty, transparency. Part of it is just being really proud of myself and looking at like, this story has grown so much, and I think this is going to be so fun. I have enjoyed writing every chapter that I have decided to keep, because y'all know me, I'm the type of person where I rewrite a chapter until I'm good with it. So there is no power through it. There is no messy draft there. I'm not that person. The final draft of this book will very much be this is what the story is going to be. I'll go back, I'll clean it up, I'll rewrite, I'll add and delete as necessary, but a lot of my adding and deleting happens in my drafting stage. That's why drafting for me is such a slow process, because I'm very meticulous with it. I call it perfectionism if you want, but that's just who I am. I know that's who I am. But every iteration of every chapter that I have written, I'm like, this is fun. This is I'm enjoying this. And Project Necromancer is very much a dark fantasy, because she's a necromancer and she does necromantic things, but I also wanted to expand on it. So in my world, necromancy is more than just raising the dead. It encompasses so much, and it's just kind of like there are rituals, there are incantations, there are spells, and it's just like creating those and incorporating them into the book, and what it is that her magic can and cannot do, and the things that she knows and the things that the people around her know. And I have fun with it, and I think people will enjoy it. I really hope people will enjoy it. At the very least, Ben is enjoying it, and I have said this before. I made a video about him being my PFP. He is my harshest critic, like for sure. For sure. And when he's like chuckling, I can hear him chuckling when he's reading. It's like, okay, I did something right. And I'm like, this is a dark fantasy for sure, right? There's blood, there's gore, there's death, but there's also touches of humor. There's also a little bit of romance. There's also a lot of magic. And I'm like, I want it to be a mashup of all the things that I enjoy, right? I'm excited about it. And even though I'm on the one hand very proud of myself for this book that I'm building, I'm also like, I need to get this done. I need to get this done. I've spent enough time, I don't say hemming and hawing, because I feel like that's so country, but basically hemming and hawing around this book and being like, okay, cool, girl, you had your fun, you took your time, you dilly-dallied, you did all the things. It is time to sit down and put the words on the page. So all that being said, my current word count for this book of things that I'm keeping, because I ain't gonna front with y'all, the amount of words that I have actually written, the book will be done. The amount of times that I've rewritten a chapter or changed something, the words that I've deleted, if I kept everything, yeah, the book would be done. It would be done by now, but that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there. The actual finished word count that I am keeping to move on into this future draft, this final draft, right, is 22,530 words. That's what I have currently, right? The goal is somewhere around 120,000 words, give or take, because this is going to be a duology, and I'm saying it now. This is not going to be like Brandy's book where I was like, oh, it's going to be a duology, and then it turned into a trilogy. No, this is going to be a duology, hard duology. Like, I'm not changing that. Titles are already picked out. I know what the books are going to be called. I know where the book is going to end. So the series is going to end. So 2 books. And I am working on getting the first book done by the beginning of March, partly because I have other things that I really truly need to work on, because one of them being the 3rd book in said trilogy that I was just mentioning. I need to write and finish that, which will go a lot faster, mostly because when I started book 2, I already knew what book 3 was going to be. So it's not like this one where I was just like, oh yes, I'm just gonna do this little bitty project in between writing the trilogy, whatever. No, that did not go the way that I thought, but I'm going to work on book 3 after this. So it needs to be done by March, but also I am doing a swap with one of my author friends, and her book is also going to be done around March. And so I want to make sure that we're swapping at the same time, because if you guys have author friends, or if you're at that stage in your journey where you're like, oh yeah, me and my friends write together, you know that when you're writing, you don't have a whole lot of time to read other people's work necessarily. That's like time that you usually have to like set aside to be like, oh, I'm going to read your book and I'm going to give you feedback. So trying to line it up so that I don't miss that opportunity. But the biggest thing though for me at this point is just, I guess, releasing myself in this book from my expectations so that I can get it done. I kind of had to come to terms with the fact that I was expecting this book to be something else, and now that it's shifted so heavily, I'm just like, okay, I know that I've been talking about it on YouTube, on my live streams. I've been talking about it on TikTok. I have somewhat mentioned it on Twitter, right? I've been talking about it on my social medias, like I've publicly talked about it. And so it's just kind of getting to a point where it's just like, you know what? Yeah, I talked about it and it changed. So what, bruh? Like, it is what it is. It's part of the process. It's part of the process. And just being okay with that and releasing myself from those expectations. So as I am working on that, the goal is to get regular word counts in. According to Dabble, because y'all know I love Dabble. I love Dabble. That is like my writing software of choice. My word count goal for today is 2,378 words, which honestly for me is not a crazy goal. So I'm like, okay, I got this. I can absolutely do this. So first goal is to meet the word count for today. Second goal is to continue meeting that word count so that I don't fall behind. And then third goal is just to kind of be kinder to myself as I'm going down this journey, but also to be more strict about how I'm blocking off my time, because I'm be real with y'all, honesty, transparency, y'all know I believe in that. Part of the reason I'm in this position of being kind of, I don't say behind the 8 ball, but like behind the 8 ball with this project is because I do a lot of other things. Like there's mostly the Melanin library, right? That takes up a lot of my time, but also the services that I offer, my editing services, my coaching services. I run several Discord servers and just trying to make sure that those are up and running, and then the Patreon, and then get organizing things to get back into like the after chat. And also if you're subscribed to the channel, you'll notice that you're getting more content, like pre-recorded content from me. And that's also taking time, right? And with the Melanin library, I'm having to like redesign the entire website, because if you go to the melaninlibrary.com right now, it'll tell you that we're under construction. I'm working on it. So all that being said, there are other things that I've mentioned before, like the Melanin Code, the anthology, also putting that together. There are just a lot of things that require time, right? I have to be more strict about blocking off my writing time, because something that I have been honest with myself about is that I'm an author first. I love doing all the things that I do. I love helping other authors with coaching. I love editing, mostly the bag, but let me stop. I love helping people, straight up. Like every path of my life, where even before I got to writing, it was all about helping someone in some way. I genuinely love helping people. That is just something about who I am, right? And so I tend to prioritize other people and what they need from me before I prioritize what I need from myself. And so 2024 is really just about me acknowledging that, hey, first of all, I'm a writer. That's why I do all the things. That's why I started the Melanin Library. That's why I started offering coaching services. That's why I do the editing, because throughout everything that I've done, I've learned. And I'm like, if I can help someone with what I have learned to make their journey easier so they don't have to make the same mistakes that I did, then who am I not to help them, right? That's why everything that I do is the way that I do it. I try to give as much information on this channel as possible. And if you guys ever want to talk to me, I try to make sure that my prices for my time are reasonable and accessible, because that's what it's supposed to be. And I'm like, I know where I was, I know where I am, and I know what's worth it and what's not. And so I just want to make sure that if someone wants to talk to me, it's never going to be because they can't afford to talk to me. Like, that's just not who I am, right? But in all of that, I have kind of let my schedule be overwhelming. And so going forward, I am definitely going to be like, hey, this is my writing time. I am not letting anything cut into my writing time, period. Like, that's what it is. That's what it is. And I think it's going to be rough for me because of the way that I'm set up, but I also think it's going to be necessary, and I think it's going to be beneficial. So I will keep you guys updated. If you like writing updates like this that are just sit down and me talking to you about what's going on, for sure, let me know down in the comment section below. And also let me know how your writing goals are going so far for 2024, because I hope that I am not the only one who's having to already reevaluate the plan, but also I kind of do. I hope all of your plans are on track. That being what it is currently 10:39 my time. I have writing sprints at 11 o'clock on the channel. If you guys are subscribed, you'll get a notification when I go live. So hopefully you are. If you're not subscribed, it's never too late to click the button. If you're interested in my books, whether that be Project Necromancer, We Are the Origin, We Are Dying Gods, any of that, there'll be links in the description box to all of that. For Project Necromancer, you do have to sign up for the Patreon, because that is exclusive content, because it's the project I'm working on right now. But I am planning to share more of my journey with that behind the scenes. So if you're into it, get into it, right? $5 gets you in. And yeah, that's it, you guys. Thanks so much for being here, for listening. And until next time, you guys, I hope your days are lovely and your books are interesting. Bye, guys.